I'd like to begin by asking everyone to have a look at this list of words. Got them? Okay, now try to keep those in mind. Hi, I'm Melissa Fortune, and today let's talk about memory. Memories are such simple things that can completely warp how you view the world or how you act, and just changing or removing one small detail can really affect someone's behaviors or outlook on life. I mean, I don't usually think twice about remembering something. Someone says, "Oh, I forgot to do the homework." But then another person says, "Well, of course I remember to do it. Why didn't you?" But have you ever thought about the act of remembering, or even the act of forgetting? Everything about it is so inconsistent, always changing. It can shift so drastically with each individual that it can seem unreal. So why don't we start off with perfect memory? Hyperthermesia, eidetic memory, photographic memory. These can all be considered types of perfect memory. As you can imagine, they're all incredibly rare and all slightly different. Hyperthermesia is where one can recall nearly all of their past experiences in vivid detail. Often, they can't forget things. Eidetic memory is where one can visualize something they saw a short time ago, also with great precision. Eidetic is constantly confused with photographic memory, where people claim they can visualize something from a long time ago with the same amount of detail as when they first saw it. Now, perfect memory is constantly debated. Cases are so inconsistent, it's hard to have any definitive research on it. Also, the truth is, you can't prove anyone really has perfect memory. Another way someone may seem to have a good memory is if they can relate their memories to external stimuli, connecting senses or objects around them to moments in the past. You could, for example, hear a song and link it back to the first time you ever heard it. Or you could smell or taste a dish and link it back to the best serving of that food you've ever had. It could link back to a specific time, place, event, whatever, just what you would link with that something. But these things can be confusing sometimes. You can feel like you've seen, smelt, heard them before, but you can't put your finger on it. Déjà vu. Surely we've all felt it before. You swore this has happened, but you just can't remember. It's different to, say, reading a book and remembering the plot, or going a certain path each day and learning to recognize the route. That's familiarity. Déjà vu feels like that familiarity, but you know it can't be true. It's an incredibly common sensation, and is only caused due to miscommunication between the parts of your brain that deal with memory recollection and familiarity. But wait, that's not perfect memory. I mean, you can't even remember why you feel that sense of familiarity in the first place. Along with cases of perfect memory being questionable, does anyone truly have that good a memory? What if the memories were imperfect or not even true at all? The Mandela effect, put simply, is the way an event can be twisted in people's minds after it's occurred. Take, for example, some famous quotes. From Star Wars, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. "Luke, I am your father." But that isn't the quote. The actual quote from the film is, "No, I am your father." From Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, said by the evil queen herself, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" But once again, that's not entirely right. The phrase is actually, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" In both instances, however, most people will only think of that first example. And this begs the question, how do so many people remember the exact same, identical event, despite it never really happening? It's a type of false memory. One way it can happen is because of confabulation, where the brain adds details that aren't true. Also, with the internet, more mass cases of the Mandela effect and false memories have been found. With the internet's easy way of spreading information over large distances and audiences, it's no wonder that misinformation can be so easily spread. Word could get out about a false event, and other people, believing it, begin to group and make communities around that lie. Another way false memories can arise is due to childhood or infantile amnesia, which is a term used to describe when one has difficulty recalling their memories from before the age of 4. Now, we may be told stories about our early childhoods, and then we try to envisage them with the vaguest wisps of memory. But by doing so, our brain fills in the gaps, and voila, we have created a false memory of our own childhoods. And there is a way to implant false memories into people's heads. Researchers have done it by successfully putting fake stories into their subjects' minds. It links back to what I mentioned about the Mandela effect. Information you learn after an event can lead to your recollection of it being warped. The vagueness also contributes to it, though. It's easier for someone to manipulate that recollection if you weren't entirely sure of every single detail. Now, false memories tend to arise due to the loss of memory. So why don't we talk a bit about that? Memory degrades naturally, but there are diseases that can speed up that process or take it away entirely. There's dementia, which at its mildest could cause one to forget some names and places, whereas at its severest could cause the complete loss of ability to do daily tasks. Dementia is a type of amnesia and is caused due to damage to nerve cells and their connections in the brain. Amnesia, on the other hand, is memory loss as a whole and can range from drug or alcohol-induced blackouts to long-term brain damage from head trauma. Interestingly, though, studies show that there doesn't seem to be a way to forget everything. Amnesiacs do tend to remember some strong-rooted memories or ones relating to identity. Now, let's tone it down a little and talk about something probably all of us have experienced before. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went in there? Or has your mind completely blanked from trying to remember where you put your phone down just a couple of seconds ago? Simple forgetfulness. It's so common, yet how exactly does it happen? Of course, there are reasons if you have been treating your body correctly. Drugs, alcohol abuse, lack of sleep, etc. But I've pinpointed it down to short-term memory. Our short-term memory is vital, but it really does not last that long without repeated rehearsal. The memories degrade incredibly quickly, usually only lasting a couple of seconds. That's why it's so easy to forget things. It's also believed that short-term memory has a capacity. If you remember you have to do something, you go to do it, and then get distracted by something else, that something could take up the space in your mind and push out what you were thinking of before. It's different to mix-ups in our long-term memory, where information that is stored in the brain's hippocampus is bundled and grouped into different categories. But our short-term memory is much different. Now, do you recall at the beginning of this talk when I asked you to look at that list of words? Can anyone remember any of them? I wonder, can anyone here remember all of them? You see, there was a study done that showed when people were given a list of 10 to 12 words, after a certain amount of time, they could only recall around 7 of them. 7 also appears to be our limit for short-term memory. So unless you manage to save these words into your long-term, they may have been pushed out from all the other information that you've heard. Thank you for listening and have a good day, everyone.